This week marks 1 year since I started posting content on social media. It's been a crazy year where I've learned more about myself and life in this period than any previous one. I just finished reading the book Atomic Habits and want to share 12 lessons from this book that sum up what I've learned in 12 months of doing content.
It's so easy to overestimate the importance of one defining moment and underestimate the value of making small improvements on a daily basis. Too often we convince ourselves that massive success requires massive action. Whether it's losing weight, building a business, writing a book, winning a championship, or achieving any other goal, we put pressure on ourselves to make some earth-shattering improvement that everyone will talk about. Meanwhile, improving by 1% isn't particularly notable. Sometimes it isn't even noticeable, but it can be far more meaningful, especially in the long run. The difference a teeny improvement can make over time is astounding.
Like the quote touched on, small habits make a big difference. Success is the product of daily habits, not once-in-a-lifetime transformations. Focus on getting 1% better every day for weeks, months, and years. This consistency compounds and will pay off in the long run. Most of us make a few changes, but the results never seem to come quickly, so we slide back into our previous routines. I think of 1% better like tree growth. Tree growth is never massive or overnight or in an earth-shattering fashion, but it's constant. You can guarantee every time that you revisit that tree it's gotten a little bit taller until it's this enormous and sprouting tree. And this year has taught me to aim for that small growth that's going to generate the big results. In the past year of creating content, it's been the small habits that have been the game changer for me. The 5 minutes a day spent brainstorming, the time spent watching other creators and getting inspiration for future videos, and the morning rhythms that center my day and allow my creativity to flow freely. All things are simple, straightforward, and not rocket science, but are overlooked because they aren't attractive or extreme. But ultimately, it will be these small habits that are the main guide in the trajectory you're on.
Habits often appear to make no difference until you cross a critical threshold and unlock a new level of performance. In the early and middle stages of any quest, there's often a valley of disappointment. You expect to make progress in a linear fashion, and it's frustrating how ineffective changes can seem during the first days, weeks, and even months. It doesn't feel like you're going anywhere. It's a hallmark of any compounding process. The most powerful outcomes are delayed.
A year ago, I started my TikTok and Instagram accounts expecting to post a few videos and quickly take off, and was humbled when video after video got few views and not much traction. I was often discouraged after putting in a lot of work and not experiencing any meaningful results. I had to remind myself that even though my early videos were not doing well, it did not mean that they were a waste of time or didn't matter. They simply were trial runs, experiments to figure out what works and what doesn't, what direction I needed to head in, and how I could use my talents and resources to create quality content. All big things come from small beginnings. Patience is the name of the game. Your work is not wasted, it's just being stored. The road less traveled is the road of delayed gratification. As the saying goes, the last mile is the least crowded.
People who make a specific plan for when and where they will perform a new habit are more likely to follow through. Too many people try to change their habits without these basic details figured out. We tell ourselves, I'm going to eat healthier or I'm going to write more, but we never say when and where these habits are going to happen. We leave it up to chance and hope that we will just remember to do it or feel motivated at the right time. Many people think they lack motivation when what they really lack is clarity.
Goals are about the results you want to achieve, and systems are about the processes that are going to lead you to those results. So if I shouldn't set goals, how can I create a good system? A good system is filled with effective habits that will guide you to who you want to become. Here's some steps you should follow to put that into practice. First step is creating what's called a habit scorecard. This is taking inventory of how you currently spend your day and the habits that fill your time to be more aware of your behavior. A question that you need to ask yourself is, does this behavior help me become the type of person I wish to be? Step 2 is plan before about when and where to act. A simple way to do this is saying, I will do this behavior at this time and this location. And then step 3 is habit stacking. This is taking step 2 a step further because no behavior happens in isolation. This is something I applied to my mornings because habit stacking this time has led to some of my best content creativity and productivity. Make these actions specific and clear. The goal is to make it obvious.
True behavior changes identity change. You might start a habit because of motivation, but the only reason you'll stick with one is that it becomes part of your identity. Anyone can convince themselves to visit the gym or eat healthy once or twice, but if you don't shift the belief behind the behavior, then it's hard to stick with the long-term changes. Improvements are only temporary until they become a part of who you are. Your behaviors are usually a reflection of your identity.
As I set lofty goals for myself in 2023, I found a lot of them to be one-off achievements and usually were hard to stick with and not generating much change. I learned to switch the mindset from what I wanted to achieve to who I wanted to become, and the latter would flow out of the correct identity. Focusing on who you want to become is adopting the habits that will lead you to that point because your behaviors are a reflection of your identity. Decide who that is and prove it to yourself in small wins. Forming habits will lead you to try, to fail, to learn, and to try differently. Accept and appreciate every step of that journey, as this internal change will lead to external growth.
Your habits change depending on the room you're in and the cues in front of you. Environment is the invisible hand that shapes human behavior.
Create an environment where doing the right thing is as easy as possible, where your desired behavior is the easy choice. This starts with creating obvious visual cues and making it a big part of your environment. For example, I have a section of my room that is covered in visual cues to keep me on track. They are things like positive self-talk mantras, upcoming tasks, goals for the year, progress sheets where it shows the exact date I hit big milestones, and all these cues are a huge help to reinforce my desired behavior. On my phone, I have an album of screenshots of the progress I've made on different platforms regarding followers and views, and it's super cool to look back on and see the progress that I've made from the start. The most effective form of motivation is progress, so I encourage all you guys to create ways to visually see how you're doing, whether that's in school, in your sports, or your job, and will keep you focused on the process rather than the result.
It's easy to get bogged down trying to find the optimal plan for change, the fastest way to lose weight, the best program to build muscle, the perfect idea for a side hustle. We're so focused on figuring out the best approach that we never get around to taking action. As Voltaire once wrote, the best is the enemy of the good. This is the difference between motion and action. The two ideas sound similar, but they're not the same. When you're in motion, you're planning and strategizing and learning. Those are all good things, but they don't produce a result. Action, on the other hand, is the type of behavior that will deliver an outcome.
I can sit down and for 3 hours think about the best thumbnails, titles, hooks, ways to start my video, but it's ultimately just motion until I go out and create these ideas and put them into existence. I went through plenty of periods where analysis paralysis kept me from taking action because an idea wasn't perfect. Motion makes us feel like we're making progress without running the risk of failure. The key is to focus on repetition instead of perfection. You just gotta get reps in. Some examples of what that looked like over the past year is on TikTok I posted every day for 50 days, even videos that in my mind weren't perfect. On YouTube, I made it a priority to post every Friday, even if one week I didn't feel like that video was my best. When you can get into a mindset where each video, each post, each idea is simply a lesson and a chance to learn and get better, you take that pressure off being perfect and you're okay with the outcome of the video. And actually, some of my best videos came from ones that I didn't think were perfect or planned out well, and were always a reminder to continue to emphasize repetition over perfection. And habits are gonna be the way to live this repetition idea out. It's repeating an action over and over again until it becomes automatic and ingrained in who you are. And finally, choose habits that will align with your long-term goals. Every habit has a cost. The cost of good habits are in the present, but the cost of bad habits are in the future. You get to choose the cost.
Trying to pump up your motivation to stick with a hard habit is like trying to force water through a bent hose. You can do it, but it requires a lot of effort and increases the tension in your life. Meanwhile, making your habit simple and easy is like removing the bend in the hose. Rather than trying to overcome the friction in your life, you reduce it.
For me, this has looked like getting a workflow set up through Airtable to visually map out the steps for creating each video, what was finished, what needed more work, and what needed started. It was spending 30 to 45 minutes of focus time to create several pieces of content, save them to my drafts, and schedule posting ahead of time, so even on busy days I was able to get my videos or posts completed. And most of all, it was removing waste, time sucks, or any point of friction that came up along the way. The less time I spend scripting, filming, editing, and posting a video, the better. That gives me more time to attend to the other priorities I have in my life, and also be able to have downtime to rest and relax, to come up with new ideas and keep the ball rolling.
The point is to master the habit of showing up. A habit must be established before it can be improved. You have to standardize before you can optimize.
When you first begin content is when your motivation, inspiration, and excitement are the highest. You feel like you can conquer the world, and inevitably these feelings take over and you try to do too much too soon, and often results in discouragement, burnout, or simply just giving up when that feeling wears off. So to counteract that, start small, which goes back to lesson number 1. If you want to start a YouTube channel, then maybe spend 10 minutes recording yourself and 10 minutes trying out editing software, instead of spending hours filming and editing your first ever video. The times I wasn't spending all my waking hours focused on content and making videos was when my ideas were the freshest, my mind was the clearest, and the creativity was at an all-time high to go make great pieces of content. We don't think about approaching change and starting something this way because we're so consumed by the end goal. Part of showing up is also showing up on your bad days, even if they aren't perfect.
Too often we fall into an all or nothing cycle with our habits. The problem is not slipping up, the problem is thinking that if you can't do something perfectly, then you shouldn't do it at all. You don't realize how valuable it is just to show up on your bad days. Lost days hurt you more than successful days help you.
This is why there's so much value in showing up on your bad days. Perfection is not possible, so it's essential to reframe your expectations, accept a mistake, and rebound quickly. It's easy to train when you're feeling good. It's easy to get into the Word when you feel joyful and passionate about God. It's easy to film a YouTube video when you're bursting with creativity. But it's crucial to show up when you don't feel like it.
We focus on working long hours instead of getting meaningful work done. We care more about getting 10,000 steps than we do about being healthy. We teach for standardized tests instead of emphasizing learning, curiosity, and critical thinking. In short, we optimize for what we measure. When we choose the wrong measurement, we get the wrong behavior.
Measurements shouldn't be targets. There are 1,000 videos about SEO and marketing strategies and hundreds of measurements to determine if you have good content. Those measurements can provide direction on what to change, where to go in the future, and potentially guide you towards your next video, but many people treat these measurements as targets. So their goals become to have a number of subscribers, this many views, this many likes, and it's a pitfall that I've fallen into many times and one I have to be mindful of every single day because personally this is the hardest for me to be diligent with. Don't throw out these measurements or the want to have your videos do well. Just move that away from the forefront of your vision. Instead, focus on non-scale victories that come through reflection and review. This is going to lead to long-term improvement. It's better than just looking at the numbers, and it will bring a sense of perspective and self-awareness. So I mainly did this through reflection and identity practice. With reflection practice, that was reflecting on progress. What went well this year? What didn't go so well this year? And what did I learn? With identity practice, it was, who am I becoming? What are the core values that drive my life and work? How am I living and working with integrity right now? And how can I set a higher standard in the future? Follow that up with positive reinforcement and go reward yourself. When you hit a milestone, have a breakthrough, post a video, do something to treat yourself and be grateful for the little accomplishments along the journey.
You don't have to build the habits everyone tells you to build. Choose the habit that best suits you, not the one that is most popular. Habits need to be enjoyable if they're going to stick.
So this year I had a mantra that was written all over my notebooks, and it was be consistent, be patient, and be you. Now I want to focus on that third one, be you. Find what you're passionate about, what you're good at, what you enjoy, feel called to do, and boldly chase after it even if it's not the popular thing or the expected behavior. I found some of my most fun times making content when I rewrote the rules to fit what I wanted to do. Be patient, be consistent, and most importantly, be you.
The only way to become excellent is to be endlessly fascinated by doing the same thing over and over. You have to fall in love with boredom.
You have to stay focused on your goals when boredom hits. We easily get bored with habits when they aren't fun anymore or the outcome is expected. If you only do work when it's convenient or exciting, you will never be consistent enough to achieve remarkable results. There's been many days where I didn't want to post, I didn't want to think of more ideas, or I just didn't feel like it. But if I chose to do nothing on those days, I would have never improved or made progress. So what's the solution? It's stick to a schedule. If your film day is Monday, film on Monday, no excuses. If your post day is Friday, post on Friday, no excuses. If your off day is Sunday, actually make Sunday an off day. I really struggle to do this. Making it a priority to fall in love with boredom is going to keep your system progressing in the right direction.
Success is not a goal to reach or a finish line to cross. It is a system to improve and endless process to refine.
This is the biggest lesson I learned this year on my content journey. I had many periods of time where success was compared to other people's number of followers, likes, brand deals, and left me in a pit of discouragement, envy, and frustration. Slowly but surely, I focused on intentionally redefining success as the process. When that is your mindset, you will enjoy this so much more. Creating content is hard work. It's a roller coaster of emotions, often filled with doubt and questioning if you're meant to do this. These lessons I've talked about are lessons I'm telling myself as well. Lessons I have to look at every single day and be reminded of to keep thriving in this process and on this journey of using this gift God has given me to ultimately glorify Him.
The secret to getting results that last is to never stop making improvements. It's remarkable what you can build if you just don't stop. Small habits don't add up, they compound. That's the power of atomic habits, tiny changes, remarkable results.